Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just hit the link in the show description to support now.
Yeah. Woo!
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Cognitive Recalibration podcast. As always,
Woo!
I'm your host Shravan.
Someone's really excited.
We're really excited about this one. We got Taran sitting here opposite me.
I'm not that excited.
You're not as excited because you just had your COVID
I'm sick, yeah.
booster.
Yep. Just not actual COVID, just the booster. Yeah.
And we've got a special guest with us, a returning guest, a guest that we always get on for Spider-Man related episodes.
What's up?
This is too much energy. I don't know what to do with this. Yeah.
He's compensating for your lack of energy,
Yep.
so it's kind of evened
Yeah.
out. Kireeti, welcome.
Thanks, man.
People are going to listen to that first 5 minutes and they're going to be like, this isn't for me.
Your ratings are going to go down.
They've got ratings on Spotify now for podcasts.
Oh, really?
I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I think they've recently introduced it, but yeah. Rate us on Spotify.
Yep.
After-
Not based
Are you
off
sure?
that.
Sure you want to invite that?
So this episode, it's an episode we've been waiting for a long time. Spider-Man No Way Home. So we watched it opening night, and then I watched it again a couple of days ago, and then you've seen it twice?
I've seen it twice. I watched
Yeah.
it Monday night and with you guys
Opening night.
Thursday night.
Yeah.
Wasn't opening night. Wednesday was opening night,
Oh, yeah. Technically it was.
right?
Yeah. Well,
Australian opening
like
night.
12.
It was
actually
midnight.
Yeah, midnight. Yeah.
So we didn't go to the midnight screenings. That would have been off the hook if we went to that.
I don't know if I can do midnight screenings. I feel like I'll just be too tired.
Yeah.
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 Well, yeah, I actually worked the next day, so
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
Wouldn't have been any way we could have done it. Okay, so we'll get into review. So we'll do it in a normal fashion. So I'll talk about a bit of the background. We've got to talk about the box office for this movie because it's doing some amazing stuff.
wait. One thing. You said we've been waiting for it for a long time. Have we?
We have.
But like in the span of like Marvel movies, like there was after Endgame. I didn't realize this until the other day, but after Endgame, there was another Spider-Man movie, like fairly soon after.
A couple of months after.
And then, like, how long's it been? 1.5 years? 2 years?
2 years. So that was
Not that
2019.
long between Spider-Man movies, is it?
Yeah. It's
Between,
pretty,
It's a pretty small gap.
it's
So
not
this-
huge, given COVID as well.
Yeah. So this was not delayed. This was actually one of the movies that wasn't delayed due to COVID. So it actually came out when it was meant to come out. But waiting a long time in the sense that stuff that happens in the
We
movie.
waited for it.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
waited. We
waited the
for it.
appropriate amount of time for
We
it.
waited for it.
Yeah.
I won't say waited a long time for it.
Yeah.
Glad I had that clarified.
Now we've really lost the audience. So we're going to go through the background and then we're going to talk about a little bit about the comic book origins. I just wanted to mention something about Spiderverse. And then we'll go into positives and negatives, spoiler free. So all this first section, we won't be getting into any spoilers. And then we'll have our full spoiler section, which we'll devote most of our time for because we've got a lot to discuss in spoilers. So quick background. It's directed by John Watts, who directed the first 2 Spider-Man movies, Spider-Man in the MCU movies.
Yeah.
You're a fan of it?
He obviously likes him.
Thought he did a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does a good job. I don't think
He
it's
gave
like,
him a standing ovation. Not a standing. Let's just say it's standing. No one can see him anyway. Gave him a standing ovation here.
I don't think it's like the most like
Shut up, man. John Watts.
creative. Anyway, we'll get into my thoughts on him. Obviously starring Tom Holland, Zendaya, all of the returning cast from the previous Spider-Man movies. And then I don't think this is a spoiler to say that some of the villains from the other Spider-Man movies are in this movie.
I guess
It's not
in
a
the
spoiler
non-spoiler, we can talk about the stuff in the trailer.
Yeah.
So anything in the
Yes.
trailer, if you don't want to know
trailer gave it away.
anything, If you don't want to know anything, then I guess
If you haven't seen any of the trailers as well, then
then
should just not
don't
be
listen
listening
to
to
this.
this.
Yeah, yeah.
But by this stage, I think anyone that really wants to watch this movie probably would have watched it.
Given the box office numbers, a lot of people have watched this movie.
Benedict Cumberbatch is in it as Doctor Strange, so we'll talk about him. Box office wise, so it was on a budget of 200 million, which is general MCU type budget, but it's done 638 million worldwide so far, which is, even taking COVID away, that's amazing. So a couple of the records that this movie has already accomplished. So opening weekend in the US, 260 million. This is the second highest all-time opening weekend behind Endgame.
Wow, fuck.
You know, if the imagine what would have happened if it wasn't for COVID. Maybe it would have done even.
No, I don't think it's.
Wait, first of all, is COVID restricting anything?
I don't think in the US it is.
In the US, it's not.
Yeah,
They've been out of lockdown for 12 months now.
So I don't think
in the UK it's not. They've been out of lockdown for 12 months. So is it really having an impact?
I think some people are still, maybe not with this movie, but some people were still apprehensive to go to the cinema. That's why the more recent movies haven't done as well as they.
I don't think if there wasn't COVID, I don't think this would have made that much more. Yeah.
I mean, the virus is here to stay. So if it's going to make that impact, it's going to make that impact for the rest of the
probably.
next,
We probably won't ever.
Years?
We probably won't see Endgame level box office.
Well,
for
this isn't that far off it, so I think we might.
How much was Endgame?
Endgame was 357, so it was more. It was a lot more.
Freaking good for a Spider-Man movie. I think. I mean, we kind of, without saying it, we kind of know why it would have happened. I think.
Yeah.
There were predictions about this movie, and
So Spider-Man 3, in terms of Spider-Man movies, Spider-Man 3 was the highest opening weekend before this.
Oh, God.
And that was 151 million.
That was such a great
so
movie.
This just beat Infinity War. So Infinity War is 258 million. So it's just over that. So that's just talking about US. So if we talk about worldwide now, so it made 600 million in the opening weekend. That's the third highest of all time, behind Endgame, obviously. So
Star Wars, isn't it?
No, and Infinity War.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Infinity War made 640 million, so just a bit more than this. Endgame, no comparison, 1.2 billion. So,
I think Thursday opening night, it was third overall behind Endgame, and then Force Awakens, I think, has the second one on opening night. This is American domestic, I'm pretty sure.
Worldwide, so couple of things to mention. So Infinity War and this movie, they didn't open in China. They don't know when this is going to open in China. It might not ever open in China. But Infinity War didn't open in China. So the same weekend, it opened later in China. Endgame opened in China the same day. So that's why it made so much money, 1.2 billion. But it's doing really well. That's the bottom line. Comic book origins. So very quickly, when was Spider-Verse first introduced in the comics?
2007.
So it's actually even more recent than that. 2014 was when it was introduced in the comics.
Really? Like
I'm pretty sure what they did was they had they rebooted the Marvel universe in the comics, and they made it the ultimate. They rebooted the whole universe, and that's when they introduced Miles Morales. But they rebooted every single character in the Marvel universe, and people disliked many of those characters.
When?
This was before 2014, but pretty recently.
Yeah,
pretty recent to that. Yeah,
right. So that's why, to make an excuse for it.
So some people, they hated most of the characters in that universe, but some of the characters were beloved, which was Miles Morales. They liked that character. Yeah. And then there were some other characters that were like, oh, this is a good character. But for the most part, they hated everything else. So then they tried to bring it back to the status quo, which they wanted to get Peter Parker back. So they rewrote it all to get Peter Parker back. But to get Miles Morales in it, they had to do like a Spiderverse kind of thing where he jumps through, essentially. So they molded universes.
So because I don't read the comics, and I kind of don't do it on purpose because I guess all these movies are coming out, so I don't want to encroach on it. So you're saying the comic books introduce Miles Morales as a separate Spider-Man in a different universe.
Yeah.
They don't do what Into the Spider-Verse, and they don't do what the game does, where they're both part of the same universe and they just happen to get bitten by a different sort of spider.
Yeah.
That kind of makes more sense in my eyes. What are the chances that two people get bitten by like a radioactive spider in
the same universe? Yeah.
Yeah. But then again, what are the chances that a lot of this shit happens in Marvel anyway? So
Yep.
The comics weren't actually the first time they did a Spider-Verse. So do you remember that Spider-Man animated series
Oh yeah, they did that. Yeah, I've seen that episode actually.
in the 90s. That's actually the first time they properly did like a Spider-Verse thing. Moving on to positives and negatives. So let's talk about this movie. So we can go around the table in terms of our positives first. I'll go last, so you can go first.
You can go first.
No.
Guess go
Darren,
first.
you go first, and then I know because I think you guys have more similar opinions to me. It's going to be a good debate. So you go first, and I go, then Shravan goes.
Wait, we have similar opinions to you?
I
Or?
feel like you guys are going to have a bit. I'm going to be on one side of the table.
Oh, okay, you're going to be on the
And that's
outside
my
table.
feeling. I might be wrong, but
But we're all on different sides of the table.
we're going to have a fight.
Very quickly, story. I mean, it's what's in the trailer. Story.
Story.
Yeah.
Yep.
Peter Parker's not happy that everyone knows who he is. This is from Far From Home. And he goes to Doctor Strange to make people forget who he is. And then stuff happens.
He wants to prevent people from knowing that he is Spider-Man. And in his attempts to do so, some events happen and makes the universe more complicated.
Okay.
That's it.
We're going non-spoiler positives.
Correct.
There's not much I can say here. I did like the movie. It's a very good movie.
You didn't like it?
No, I liked it.
Wait, what did you just say? You
I
just
said I did like the movie. It's a very
I swear
good movie.
You just said, I did not like the movie.
I
and said that so casually and it kept going on. Okay, you did like it.
Yeah. Non-spoiler, it's hard. I liked certain...
It's going to be very difficult.
Yeah. Let me think how I could phrase this non-spoiler. Look, there's characters in this movie that are done very well. I don't think this is a spoiler. I think Willem Dafoe, everyone knows he's in this movie. And I think he knocks it out of the park. He's very good in his role and very sinister. I think probably the best villain iteration for a Spider-Man movie we've seen in a long time. It's a good end to the trilogy. I don't think this is it's not a spoiler. No, this might be a spoiler. I will leave that till later. Tom Holland was great as usual. I think he's the best Spider-Man, and more so because his movies are good, and I think he embodies the character better than the other previous two Spider-Men have. And even Stan Lee said in an interview that when he wrote Spider-Man, he envisioned him to be what Tom Holland is. So I think he's probably the best Spider-Man character we're ever.
What was that you said when someone wrote it?
When Stan Lee wrote the character of Peter Parker, he said he kind of envisioned him
I
to
never make much of that. It's like J.K. Rowling saying,
Yeah.
Dumbledore's gay the whole time.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
like, once you've written the story, I believe it's in the reader's mind, and that's it.
And I guess
it actually
you're
doesn't
marketing
matter.
a movie. You're marketing a movie, so you have to say that shit anyway. But I think he's a very good Spider-Man. Other than that, I don't think I can say the rest of this stuff without going into spoilers. So
Adding on to that, I think this is the one movie where Zendaya has actually done something and actually acts. I think she actually shows her acting potential / her acting prowess. I don't think she did that much in the previous movie, but she has.
in the first movie, she's hardly in it.
She does nothing in the first
Yeah,
movie.
yep.
In the
And
second one,
she's in it a bit
She's
more.
kind
but
of there, but I don't think the writing really supports her acting. She's just kind of around.
she's not really a main part of that movie. Well, she is, but she's not.
She is, but I think also the writing is kind of goes up and down. Where it's an interesting movie in that she's just kind of there. And actually, when you really think about it, it's like they've introduced her in that second movie as someone that they never really introduced in the first movie. But I think in this one, there's much more grounding to her character. I think she has good moments. I think she has good emotional moments.
Chemistry between them is very good as well. Yeah.
Apparently, they worked on something before Spider-Man together.
I think
I
so.
don't think so. I think they met on Spider-Man.
No, really?
Yeah.
Where did I get that from? I don't know.
I don't know.
All right, never mind. What else can I add? Yeah, I agree. I think Spider-Man is really good. I think this movie is able to highlight various interesting and unique aspects of this particular Spider-Man trilogy, and emphasize good points about it and kind of why it's good. I think you can see why it's good. Yeah, I agree that Tom Holland was really good once again. I think it introduces certain concepts in Spider-Man that are key, doesn't do it in a too cliched way, and doesn't also shy away from it. I think I'll explain that a bit more in the in the spoiler section. Overall, is fairly interesting. I think I think I was pretty interested. It was 2.5 hours, pretty long, but it still kept me interested. So I thought it was entertaining. Good fan service as well towards the end. And
I think entertaining is the right way to describe it. Entertaining and lots of fan service.
I think it was written quite well in the bounds of what this movie could have been and kind of where it is in the progression of Marvel. And what are we in phase 4? What do we call this? Yeah. I think the fact that we're in phase 4, a lot of things have already happened. You're having new characters come in. A lot of old characters like Iron Man, Captain America have kind of gone as we know them. I think they made a good decision in what they decided to do with this movie.
Agree with all of that. So I think before going into this movie, I was pretty apprehensive about maybe they're trying to do a little bit too much. Just from the trailers, I felt like there was a lot happening in this movie, and could they balance all those elements well? And I was pleasantly surprised because they did a pretty good job. I agree that I think it was pretty well written with what they were going for. It was pretty ambitious, and they did it pretty well in the end. The only other thing I would say is I think the other 2 Spider-Man movies in this trilogy, especially the first one, it's not only a Spider-Man movie, like Iron Man's in that movie. The villains are Iron Man centric, even in the second one. It never really felt like it was a pure Spider-Man story. This one actually does. This one is, especially towards the second half of this movie, becomes very much a Tom Holland. It's driven by his character, and it's very much a Spider-Man centric movie, which I was surprised, or not surprised, I was very happy about.
That's what a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but I have seen online, people think Tom Holland is the worst Spider-Man, and they say he's exactly what Spider-Man shouldn't be, mostly because they feel like he's Iron Boy, not Spider-Man, because of the first 2 movies. I disagree with that because I think he's still his own character.
And I've got
I can appreciate where they're coming from there.
Yeah. But I've got some thoughts on that because I think they jumped the gun a little bit with those comments because I think this movie makes up for everything. So we'll get into it in spoilers. I've got some thoughts on that. The villains that were brought back were... Again, I was a little bit apprehensive about this because I thought they were just going to come and have some fights and that'd be it. But they're not just there for action. There's a bit of development for those characters as well, which was very well done. So overall, I think it just delivered on the premise, and there's a lot of crowd-pleasing moments, a lot of fan service. And we've seen fan service not done well, like Rise of Skywalker, for example.
I think this is... I would say this is equivalent to Force Awakens fan service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't...
Because Force Awakens, when it came out,
I'll say Force Awakens... Yeah, I think Force Awakens was a good movie.
Yeah.
I just think there's far more fan service in that than there is in this. Because
there's a fair amount of fan service.
Yeah, but there's a reason as to why. So the way that this was written, there's reasons as to why things turn out the way they are. Force Awakens was... They've made a new movie where they didn't really have to... And they connected absolutely everything to things that have happened in the previous trilogies. And so I feel like this one, I would think that if someone wasn't sure about this movie and they heard that comment, they would be like, what the fuck?
I think
I'm not going to watch this.
The good thing about this is, which Force Awakens does, is it doesn't open up a bunch of mystery boxes that need to be revealed later, which is the main problem with Force Awakens. It sets up all this stuff. It's like, oh, who's Rey's
and they
parents?
Shit all over it.
Yeah, which was not good. But the fan service parts of Force Awakens are actually quite good. And I think this executes it just as well as that does.
Yeah.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that was done pretty well. We'll get into it more in spoilers. The other thing, Sony is pretty infamous for their trailers, but they didn't stuff it up this time. They actually did a pretty good job with the trailers. So the trailers didn't give away too much in the...
I have a little bit of a bone to pick with the trailer. I feel like they did something on purpose where they tried to miss... Yeah, which is a bit like... It's a bit dumb because I think some fans realize that either some people will be like, okay, so they did this thing in the trailer where they pretended like they're giving away parts of the story when they actually weren't, right? And
Marvel's infamous for doing that, though.
Yeah, but I think Marvel does it in... they still hold back a bit. I think in this one, they made this faux explanation as to what the storyline was in the trailer, which I think half the people were like, I was annoyed, but I was like, if this is true, this is annoying because it's shit. The storyline's crap. And then other people just didn't believe it full stop. And so it's just like, I reckon they could have cut back a little bit on that trailer. held back
The storyline was that it just didn't play out the way it did in the trailer. That's all.
Yeah, which I think is key.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's not spoil it too much just yet.
All right, we can quickly talk about some negatives. So I do have some negatives. Particularly, there's some plot conveniences. Things happen, and you have to go with it.
There's definitely plot holes in this movie, which I've written. But if you go with it, then
I think that the setup was not as good as the payoff. The setup was there was some stuff that you kind of have to breeze over in the setup. The payoff was good, so that's why I'm kind of okay with it. If the payoff wasn't good, I think this movie would be much worse than it was if the payoff didn't come.
I think it's
out.
better if there's not as much of a setup, but then the payoff's much better. Don't you think? Rather than having a great setup and having a shit payoff.
Yeah, absolutely. But I would have, because they've taken such a big step and they've done so much for the payoff. I would have liked them to spend a bit more time getting the setup right as well. But that's because I've just got high expectations.
Yeah,
that's basically all I had in terms of negatives that I can mention here. We can get more into it in the spoilers. Was there anything else?
You got any?
These are oil. These are all spoilers. So we'll. Yeah.
Cool. I got none.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think I just mentioned spoilers.
And the other thing is, this movie is actually pretty long, but it never actually felt long.
No.
And we've watched some long movies this year. So
That stupid, what was it called?
Eternals. I think No Time to Die was the longest one we watched, I think.
Shit, was it?
And it felt long.
How long is that?
Almost 3 hours, that one. So if we don't have anything else, obviously it's a cognitive recalibration. I think everyone, if you're a Spider-Man fan, probably already watched it, but definitely watch it. Marvel fan, definitely watch it. Even if you're a general audience person.
That would be a negative for me. If you've never seen Spider-Man, like any of the Spider-Man, then this movie is complete garbage.
Yeah, but that's the same as Infinity War.
And Endgame. It's the same as those two.
Yeah.
But like you said, if it's a general audience member, if it's my dad watching this, he has no idea what's going on.
Correct.
Yeah.
My
I
dad
think
generally doesn't have much of
I think you can still have fun with it, especially if you watch it in the cinema. So this is one of those movies where, like, watching it together with people, it actually enhances the experience.
I'll say this, though. As we walked out, our theater was basically full. As we walked out, there was a couple of girls talking next to me, and they're like, two of the girls hadn't seen any Spider-Man movie before, I think. And then one of the girls is like, did you have any idea what's going on? She's like, no idea. So
if you were born into the TikTok generation and you have previously not watched Marvel movies, i.e. before the MCU came out, then you might struggle. But I think you'll still enjoy it.
I think you'll still enjoy it, though.
It's still an enjoyable movie, but
there are
you
certain
wouldn't
references
understand.
you will not understand.
Yeah.
The crowd would be cheering and you would be like, why?
But I think
You get very lucky if you have older people watching this movie as the crowd. Imagine if it was just young people as being the crowd.
Yeah.
in your
wouldn't
second
get it.
viewing, was that your experience?
It was just full of rats that were chucking popcorn everywhere, so a few people screamed
At you
them.
specifically?
Yeah, I got bullied by 12-year-olds the whole time.
And then you bash them.
I will not admit to that. I fled the fifth. Wow. English.
Yeah, my second experience, I watched it on a Monday night, Tuesday night, 9 o'clock show, and it was completely...
Shit, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, it just happened. I wanted to go earlier, but it just happened. But it was completely full.
You said no to an 8:30 show the day before.
But it was completely full, and there was still cheering even on a weeknight. So
Nice.
Yeah, it was totally... So I watched it again on the Monday night. I was looking at all the availability. So firstly, Gold Class, there were 3 sessions of Gold Class at like every village in the southeast, and they were all full. And then all the standards were nearly booked out. All the Hoyts were quickly selling on a Monday night. I think that's a combination of school holidays, but also just people wanting to watch it again.
Watch this movie, yeah.
Just
Spider-Man is a very popular character as well. Like, I know you said like TikTok generation, but they still love Spider-Man.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Tom Holland. Yeah.
No, I'm saying TikTok only because they wouldn't have watched
The older ones. They wouldn't know Alfred
Yeah.
Molina. They wouldn't know Willem
Well,
Dafoe.
in general, when you talk about superheroes, the ones that everyone says are
Batman and Spider-Man.
And
No,
Batman,
not Superman. Batman and Spider-Man.
Well, Superman, just because he's such a...
Fuck Superman and fuck that guy.
but yeah, Spider-Man actually sells the most toys out of any
Does, yeah.
superhero. So
And
he's very popular.
It's Spider-Man's marketable because they marketed it to different regions in the 90s as well. Like Japan had his own Spider-Man. Like India had their own.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not based in New York?
No, it was based in Tokyo.
And what? Delhi? Mumbai?
India's had their own iterations of Spider-Man as well.
No
so,
fucking way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
How do
like
I get
people
a hold
have
of
grown
this?
up with Spider-Man.
Yep.
Yeah.
In one form. All right.
Also, it's
Anyway.
also TV show based, right? That's
Yes.
the main reason, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the TV shows for Batman and especially Spider-Man were very easygoing, easy to watch. You can chuck them on in the morning. I used to
And they
watch
were
Spider-Man
good.
all the time in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump into spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie and you care about spoilers, go watch the movie, come back to this point, and we'll talk spoilers. All right, so we can go step by step in terms of the spoilers. So we can go through in some level of detail the movie and just talk about our thoughts at each step. So it essentially starts at the end of Far From Home. Same scene.
Immediately.
Pretty much, yeah, just immediately after that. And you just see the crowd. It's some of the reactions were interesting. Do you see that guy that like jumps after Spider-Man when he's like
Tries to catch it?
Yeah. And then you get this short sequence where they're going across town, getting to Queens in a route that they won't get discovered. And then you have this short sequence with Happy and Aunt May and MJ and
So I don't think
Peter.
you specifically said, but his identity gets revealed just then,
Yeah. So at the end of Far From Home, you find out that his identity is revealed, and then
just in case people forget.
Yeah. This stuff's kind of revealed in the trailer. So in terms of the interrogation stuff that they go through afterwards, and I thought tonally, and this is where the trailer does mislead you a bit. It felt very like dire in the trailer. It felt like really serious, but then the way it plays out in the movie, it's not as serious. Like the music is a little bit more upbeat, and it's not like the end of the world kind of thing.
What I noticed when I rewatched it was when Spider-Man, so the first camera angle is essentially, so they're talking about, it's kind of like that Infinity War thing where there's all these voices in the background and all these things happening, and you're just getting from the, what do you call it, the pre-credits into the main scene. They zoom in on Spider-Man, and then all this like fancy like upbeat jungle music and all these drums start playing when he's getting, and I was like, oh, okay. It's very happy music for a dire thing that's just happened.
It's played for comedy rather than seriousness, which some people wouldn't like, but also it fits more tonally with the previous Spider-Man movies than, if you went straight from Far From Home to this, it wouldn't feel that much of a leap, if that makes sense.
But also the ending of Far From Home didn't have, so it's like the reaction from Spider-Man was semi-comedic as well. It's like, oh shit. You know, how did they find that out? It wasn't like really dark or ominous.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think it fits.
It fits what they were going for.
And it fits with the rest of this movie as well.
Yep.
I think
This movie isn't a serious movie. It's not the Dark Knight.
at this time, for this particular point and this particular emphasis, I
It's
don't
got
think
serious points, but overall, I would say it's more of a comedic film rather than a
serious.
Yeah.
It does get serious later, but overall it's not. It's more lighthearted.
Yeah.
We did talk about trailers. I think I already said they did a pretty good job not giving too much away. We can talk about that Doctor Strange. Okay, so in between they don't get into MIT, and then Peter starts feeling.
So the main thing that forces Peter to make that decision that you see in the trailer to ask Doctor Strange to reverse things is essentially his life's changed a little bit, and like it's been a while. He's finished school and everything.
Yeah.
But he doesn't get into MIT. It's probably the main thing that forces him.
I don't think it's. I mean, he obviously doesn't. He's not very happy that he didn't get into MIT, but it's more that MJ and Ned.
Hey, question. Did MJ and Ned disappear during the blip?
Yes. Why would they be the same age if they didn't disappear?
Well, because at the end of Endgame, when Spider-Man goes back, right? Ned, it looks like, they don't really explain this, but Ned looks like he's missed Peter. And so I've always wondered whether, like,
I think he's just like, oh, we're both alive again.
Well, I guess Peter was gone for
And he was off planet.
Yeah, maybe he was gone for like a week or something. Or like,
no, it was like a day, wasn't it? It was a day.
because they
when
portal
Ned
him in.
screams and distracts everyone on the bus, it's like a day. And then the whole fight takes like,
but they are traveling to Titan for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's probably not a week, maybe like 3 days. max.
No, but they definitely all get blipped because in Far From Home, they're all in the same class.
Yeah.
So unless Ned got held back,
exactly. That's what I was
5
trying
years,
to. Yeah, that's right.
which would make sense why he didn't make it into MIT.
But also, I
years.
guess all of the class gets blipped. Like what the
there's that one
all the
guy.
main characters get blipped. That chick that Ned dates got blipped.
Yeah.
Or she's a freak and she's at uni and actually still reporting on kids.
There's a guy that doesn't get blipped. They go through it.
That Asian guy in Far From.
Oh, that's their excuse to get rid of him.
They didn't get into their backup schools, right? So
Yeah, did they really think they would
how
get
do
to
they
MIT?
think that a lot of people don't get into MIT? So it's with their issues, they probably shouldn't have expected them.
So I think a lot of people don't get into MIT when they're international. I think a lot of smart people
locally.
locally who kind of will kind of have an idea whether they get in or not. No, and I think
Considering
all of
that-
those guys were smart, and they weren't in those smart quiz competitions like MJ was.
They're in a specialist. They're in like a special school.
Yeah.
Not a special school because you're just
like
disabled.
they're in a selective school. Yeah.
It's called a magnet school or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess they...
And that's why Flash Thompson looks like a nerd.
Yeah, because he got into MIT.
A lot of people have a problem with this part of the movie because they're like, well, Tony Stark went to MIT. He knows Pepper and he knows Happy. And Tony Stark's like the biggest beneficiary of MIT in this universe. So they're like, oh, why doesn't he just ask Pepper to get him into MIT?
But also, wasn't the reason as to why I couldn't get in because of controversy? So, like,
Yeah,
I think
that's right. That's the main
it doesn't
reason.
matter anymore. I think once you bring when you bring a school into disrepute, I don't think having
I think-
contacts matters.
I think if he asked Pepper, he would have got in easily. But the thing is, he's a kid and he doesn't know
didn't
he
think
can ask.
about it.
He doesn't know he can ask people, or he didn't think about it. Exactly.
Also, Gwyneth
Yeah.
Paltrow doesn't know that she's in Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, well, he obviously didn't think about... He didn't even know that he could ask for like a
So
second
I don't think.
consideration.
I think
So,
that
yeah.
the thing that people are like, oh, he's stupid. He's a kid, but they forget how he is a kid. He's 18 years old. They forget how they probably acted when they're 18 years old.
Yeah.
And everyone, the biggest complaint about this movie that I've heard is they think Spider-Man is stupid, and they're like, the things he does in this movie is like it's something a kid would do. But the thing is,
Yeah.
he is a kid.
Yeah, I think it's exactly what a 17 or 18-year-old would do. He's like in the process of, he's like finished school, finished school. His post Endgame and all that, post Endgame and post the last movie, and he's just got a new girlfriend. There's like a lot of complex, weird things happening in his life. I don't think he can make the most, he can't make
Mature decision.
the most jurisprudent decisions. And
Yeah. So he ends up going to Doctor Strange because he wants some magical stuff to happen so that people can forget that he is Spider-Man. Or everything that happened with Mysterio, that stuff, essentially.
So his main motivation is to prevent the people around him from suffering because of people realizing that he's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's the main motivation, which is kind of key. Yes.
Yeah. And the way it plays out in the movie makes a little bit more sense than the way it played out in the trailer. In the trailer, I thought Doctor Strange was acting pretty strange. So
The trailer's bullshit. Don't
Yeah.
believe it. The trailer was like,
but in the movie, it kind of makes a bit more sense. So firstly, he's not Sorcerer Supreme anymore.
So I think this is a big thing as to when people are questioning why Doctor Strange did this spell. First off, it plays out differently because he's done this spell before and he feels like he can do it. The thing that people forget is Doctor Strange is like, he's a super narcissist. So he has to be the best at everything he does. So
and it's gonna lead to his downfall. Is kind of one of the character flaws. He probably
exactly.
has. Yeah.
He has to be the best at what he does. So if you've ever met a narcissist, if you tell them they can't do something, they'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, he's a neurosurgeon. If everyone's ever spoken to a neurosurgeon before, they'll know what Doctor Strange is like.
Yeah. So I think for him, even though he knows the spell could go wrong, he's like, I'm Doctor Strange. I can do it anyway. And the fact that he's being cucked by Wong, because Wong's Sorcerer
he got
Supreme now,
blipped, yeah.
he's probably trying to do stuff to prove himself.
I thought that was a
think.
pretty funny and a good revelation that Wong is Sorcerer Supreme.
And it also makes sense because Wong's been turning up in like all this other stuff. Like he was in Shang-Chi.
Yeah, that's why he's so involved.
I think he's...
But it's also funny that the Sorcerer Supreme went getting drunk karaoke night with Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
But you could tell he's definitely cut that he's not Sorcerer Supreme
Yeah.
I think he's like pissed off, which I think will be explored in.
Doctor Strange.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
You already know it will be because in Endgame. Yeah, in Endgame, what's her face? The Tilda Swinton. Her character essentially says that Doctor Strange was going to be the best of us, which is a reference to the future Sorcerer Supreme. So I think she knows, and I think everyone kind of knows it's going that way. But it's good. I think it's like this thing you didn't expect, and it's a good revelation to have. Makes things more interesting. The dynamic as to how Doctor Strange acts kind of makes sense a bit more. He's a bit more.
And you also understand that he actually cares for Peter, which we didn't really get in, like, they spent time together in Infinity War, but, you know, he's kind of like...
They spent some time on that ship, eh? Yeah.
So obviously he's grown slightly fond of him. But
also they had the fight together on Titan.
Yeah.
And he must have had some sort of interaction with him because he brings him back.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it looks like he genuinely actually cares for him, and he wants
And I
to help
feel
him.
like if you're Doctor Strange and you live in New York, your sanctum's in New York, and there's always funky things happening around. I'm sure he's like one of those people that keeps an eye out on things that are happening around him, and so I think he kind of knows.
Yeah. So
But anyway, he fucks up the spell anyway.
yeah. So it's
Okay. So here's the question. I actually don't think. I think he doesn't fuck it up in a totally irresponsible way. I think it totally makes sense why it went wrong. Do you not agree?
He fucks it, but then he saves it. But in the gap where he fucks it and saves it, a few things happen.
So let's explain the spell, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, from my understanding, and I was left a little bit confused after my first watching, but I think I understood it more on my second watching, was that so Peter Parker requests him to what? What's his request? That
everyone forget that he's Spider-Man.
No. The first time, his actual request is everyone forget who he is.
No,
No,
it's to
it's-
everyone to forget who he's Spider-Man.
Everyone,
yes, yeah,
I
that-
think it's just Spider-Man.
That Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So he says, I want everyone to forget who I am. The Doctor Strange interprets that as in order to create a spell, he's like, so in order to make this apply, he needs to gather everyone who knows Spider-Man to be Peter Parker. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I
I drank so much Coke.
So it's everyone who knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man will forget that he is Spider-Man.
Yeah, but the way the spell works is he gets everyone who has that knowledge. And so he does this. The spell is like him gathering everyone from he doesn't realize it, but from the universes, the multiverse, which he didn't realize. But he gathers, because I think the spell essentially, if you really go into it, I think is that understanding that Peter Parker is Spider-Man is like this gathering thing. So you gather everyone's knowledge and then you get rid of that knowledge. And I think that's why it leads to all the events, which is kind of, it's a key thing. I think you can watch the movie without understanding that, but
I'm not sure if his intention was that, like, across the multiverse.
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't think that was his intention, but that's what the spell does.
Yeah, because
In order for it to work.
Wong says something, right? When he's like, "Oh, don't do that spell because it like traverses."
Yeah, it traverses the
time and space or
boundaries
something."
between
Yeah.
the normal and...
My feeling is that this is happening simultaneously to what's happening in Loki. So that boundary's being broken down already. So he's...
Oh, yeah.
So it's easier for things to escape. Yeah,
it's easier for things to escape.
I haven't even
essentially.
thought about. I've totally forgotten about kind of what the impact of the Loki TV series was as well. But I think that that definitely will add to
well,
it.
I think I get what you mean. So everyone he's collecting everyone's brains that know Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and then he's trying to erase
pluck
that.
knowledge
Just
out.
take
But
out.
accidentally, as a result of that, some people get through into this universe that know that Peter Parker is
And
Spider-Man.
I think what that spell does is it first gathers everyone that has this knowledge first, and then erases their memory.
Yeah. And he fucks it for a little bit where it kind of goes, but then he controls it.
Contains
but
it, yeah.
in that time, some people already come through, unfortunately.
My question is, like, this probably happened, but who else knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man? Aunt May?
MJ.
Well, according to this,
Well,
all
there's
the
one
villains-
person.
all
There's
the
one
villains-
person that comes through in this that doesn't know Peter Parker Spider-Man. It's referenced in the movie that he doesn't know Peter Parker Spider-Man,
Yeah.
but he still comes through.
Who?
Venom.
Electro.
No, Electro. I think Electro.
No, he doesn't, because Andrew Garfield takes off his mask and he's like, I thought Spider-Man would be black. So why would he think Spider-Man's black if he knows it's Peter Parker?
No, I think that. So is that guaranteed? In the previous movie, did Electro not know that Andrew got like?
I don't think he sees him with his mask off. Yeah,
He doesn't know he's Spider-Man. He doesn't know Peter Parker's Spider-Man.
so he really shouldn't be.
Unless
That's a plot hole.
Unless he finds out. This is a stretch. Unless didn't he say that he got brought into this universe just as he was about to die?
Yeah.
Also, Electro is the fucking funniest character in this. He fucking had some great fucking deadpan sarcasm that never existed in the previous movies. I don't know where he got it from.
He's a different character to what he is in The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
But you reckon he could have realized, you know how he says that he was about to turn into like this all powerful and it was that explode? I don't know. How does he die in the second Spider-Man movie?
He gets like uploaded into a...
Doesn't he? Yeah. He
Doesn't
goes
that
to
mean,
power
you
plant.
know,
He like goes into the power plant and then he explodes.
is he becoming transcendent and hence knowing, according to internet and
we
whatever,
we could go into that and call it a
then
stretch.
realizes at that point in
think it's
time
just a plot
that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, then he gets pulled over?
I think the reality is no one liked the Dane DeHaan Green Goblin and they're like, this guy sucks. It's like, which are the villains in this movie? Jamie Foxx, will bring him in.
Yeah.
People will forget about it. It's okay. But that's a plot hole.
So not everyone that knows him comes through because he says a few escaped. He doesn't say like everyone that knows Peter Parker.
No.
Okay.
But then at the end, if we skip to the end, everyone's coming through at the end that knows he's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So that's my question. So maybe what the spell does is it first gathers everyone that knows Spider-Man. And then it then filters and sees who knows. Like it's a stretch. Once again, if you want to really make this spell work and make the reasoning behind it work, you could argue that what the spell does is it gathers or it attaches to everyone that is aware of Spider-Man and then filters out by people who know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And in that process, the spell gets cucked by whatever Peter is telling him to adjust. But by then there's already this link that's been made between the multiverses.
It's referenced directly in the movie that it's bringing people through that know Peter Parker Spider-Man. Doctor Strange says that. He says it's bringing people through that know Peter Parker Spider-Man.
So all the people we see at the end, it must mean that all those villains
knew that Peter Parker Spider-Man. Yeah.
From
in those
other
universes.
Yeah.
In those universes.
that's a lot of villains knowing that Spider-Man is Peter Parker.
Yeah.
That's a lot of, to be honest, that's a lot of Peter Parkers that lead shit lives.
Yeah.
Right? As soon as villains know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man,
But there's thousands.
it leads to a
and
very
thousands of
complicated.
different
Exactly. It's
Spider-Man.
infinite.
So it's. I guess it makes sense. Yeah, I was just wondering why. Surely other people might have come through. It just so happens that we only met the villains that know Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So like Mary Jane could have come through. You just didn't meet her. That's all.
Yeah, she wasn't relevant to the plot. She couldn't help the plot.
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah.
Or like
It would have been-
Mary Jane.
Well,
Yeah.
we see that Venom comes through and he does
doesn't know.
nothing for the plot.
Yeah.
And then he leaves. So there could be people that do that. Yeah.
But also Venom, that completely doesn't make sense.
So-
Because he never actually even met Spider-Man.
so
So
I've
now,
got
so maybe it is a true. So there's only two ways. It's either a true plot hole, or it is my theory that that's how the spell works. Is it brings
the Venom
everyone-
one makes sense. Given that, at the end of Venom Let There Be Carnage, in the post-credit scene,
A movie that you don't like.
a movie that sucks. in my notes, I've got Venom Let There
he
Be Carnage
sees him.
sucks.
Oh, no.
Okay, so at the end of Venom Let There Be Carnage, Venom says a thing how his knowledge traverses universes and timelines. So essentially,
No way.
he does
it?
say that, and he's
Yeah,
like,
but is he lying? That's bullshit. How does that work?
and he says that if I gave you an ounce of my knowledge, it would burn your brain or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You reckon that's true? You reckon
So
that's
this
a bit
ma-
OP for Venom? Sure.
So the reason it makes sense is that Venom is probably a hive. Venom is a hive mind. So it's
you reckon it's a multiverse hive mind?
yes. So Venom from a different universe
So it's
would
the
know
same.
who.
It could be the same Venom.
It's a
but the
hive
same-
mind. It's not the same Venom. It's just they all connect to the same
Well, it
network.
means that it is the same Venom.
It's not the same Venom. It's
It's
just
a tentacle of
Okay,
the
it's a
hive
Dell-
mind that exists beyond the multiverse.
it's a Dell laptop. They've all got the same motherboard and they all got the same knowledge, but different people are using them.
It's the same Venom.
Does that make sense?
You're saying it's the same Venom.
It's not the same Venom.
So this Venom knows about Peter Parker.
No,
Spider-Man.
the Venom, all the Venoms in every universe know about Peter Parker because one of the Venoms has met Peter Parker.
So they're all connected.
They're all connected.
and therefore they're all the
across
same
the
venom.
across.
but
the
they're different. They've all got different personalities and they're all different venoms.
Yeah,
So
I mean
that's why it would that Venom knows Peter Parker Spider-Man because every Venom knows Peter Parker Spider-Man.
So I don't think that's very. I mean, you've explained it, but I don't think that's very clear. Like for even I didn't know that. And,
No, but I've made up that theory and it might not be true, but that's the only reason that would make sense.
I just think they wanted to get Venom into this universe somehow, so they can get Venom in a Spider-Man movie.
But
and that's
saying
why they
that,
did it.
Venom Let There Be Carnage sucks because that whole movie was
Mate, so did the
based
first
off that.
one.
Yeah,
The first one wasn't good either.
but that whole movie was marketed on the post-credit scene, bringing that Tom Hardy's Venom is now going to be in the MCU.
Yeah,
And they're going to fight each other. But then in the post-credit scene of this movie, he just goes back to his own world. So that whole movie was marketed on this one thing that actually doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So fuck that movie.
Mate, Sony are doing whatever they can to sell that movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's bad
because
tactics.
if they're going to bring in Venom, it would have been nice if they actually kept Tom Hardy. Because what's the point now? Like
Have they bailed on Tom Hardy?
well, he's gone back to his universe, so I don't think he's going to need
right.
Tom Holland. Yeah.
I don't
I
think
think-
that the universes are now separate anymore. I think the
So-
universes are very much bridged.
I think they definitely will have a movie where they fight each other. And I think it'll be Tom Hardy Venom. But I think they thought that would be Spider-Man 4. And at the time of filming Venom, they didn't know if Marvel was going to do another trilogy with Tom Holland or if he would be reverted back to Sony and they'll just do it. Are you sure you want more Coke, man? Yeah. They didn't know if he was going to be reverted back to Sony and they were going to do that Spider-Man Venom movie.
Yeah, but now they've left it open for, like, for example, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. He could be in Andrew Garfield Spider-Man's universe.
He could be.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So they could still do it with Andrew Garfield.
They could. Yeah.
Instead of Tom Holland.
That would be interesting. It would be very interesting to have a concurrent, and I think it could work. It could work if they do it very well. It could work to have Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield be concurrent Spider-Mans. But will it happen? Will Marvel? Can Marvel do anything about it? Maybe not.
Do you guys let's skip forward or do you want to skip forward or do you want to?
Have we? I feel like we've discussed that point. Okay, so what? We've explained the spell.
Yeah, we explained the spell, and we've talked about how the villains come out. So first he meets Doc Ock, which is on the bridge. You see a bit of it in the trailer. That's the only thing I would say about this movie is the action was okay. The best action sequence was the one with Doctor Strange. So
I think the best action sequence is the one with Green Goblin in the apartment.
I don't know about that one. That one had like very fast cut. It wasn't that engaging.
I think that was more brutal.
Yeah.
It was a whole lot of wrestling moves. And
But the Doctor
The problem
Strange
with
one was...
the problem with the Doc Ock one is it's got no weight to the fight. Nothing feels real when they're getting hit and stuff like that. It just feels like they're flying around. Too much CGI.
And it wasn't. It also wasn't that long. It was like a couple of minutes.
The Doctor Strange fight's okay, but I think the Doctor Strange fight's cool because he's so out of his depth, but he still figures out a way to kind of.
I just like.
Yep.
I guess Doctor Strange adds that dimension. The
when you
But the
mirror
mirror dimension
it's
stuff.
sick.
Yeah.
But the two Green Goblin fights have the most weight to them. They're throwing punches, and there's like blood.
I just
and
don't
it's
think
actual-
they're that. Like they don't use Spider-Man that well in those fights. Like he doesn't do He's just punching him. He doesn't do like Spider-Man stuff.
I think that it makes it more brutal because he's like, I haven't fought a guy. Like, I can't do Spider-Man shit with this guy because he's just beating the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is that Spider-Man reaches this next level of awakening at the end of the second movie, right? In that the crucial scene in that movie is he's blind and using his spidey sense, he can navigate the world. And they tend to forget, like, it's like they've forgotten about this heightened sense of power that Tom Holland Spider-Man now has. And because when he uses the spidey sense in that scene, you know, there's this when they're all gathered in Happy's apartment.
That's a good scene.
It's a good scene, but I feel like Tom Holland's spidey sense takes way too long to activate. Like, he realizes there's something ominous going on. It takes like 20 seconds for him to go, oh shit. It's cool, but it's also like they could have done it. There are other ways to actually film it, let alone make it, because of the fact that I think people are forgetting about he's supposed to have this little bit.
I think it's because
heightened
there's
sense of
a
power.
lot of stuff going on in that one scene.
Yeah.
So Electro's having second thoughts about the thing. what's his name? And the thing downstairs is about to break out.
Lizard.
Yeah, Lizard's about to break out in the.
What the fuck was that guy doing anyway? He was just like, no, I just want to stay in the truck.
I think it's because there's multiple things happening. His spidey sense is like overloaded.
Yeah.
And he's like, what do I need to primarily think about here? And yeah.
On the Spidey sense, so you know that scene where his astral form is hit out of him? Doctor Strange hits the astral
That
form.
is a cool scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On Spider-Man, the body, you see like these little things coming out of his head, like the
That's
spider
Spidey
sense.
Yeah. Which is why
yeah.
Doctor Strange can't grab the thing because his spidey sense.
Because it's just reflexes. Yeah. His body's automatically, doing this.
Because in Into Spider-Verse, they show like little arrows coming out of his head, right? Like they showed that in a live action way in this movie, which was pretty cool. But yeah, I like that whole Doctor Strange sequence. We need to talk about Doctor Strange. So I like him in this movie, but do you think it was Charles Xavier?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
100% is Charles Xavier. Yeah.
does
So
that mean?
it's when you have a character that's so powerful that if they're in the movie will just stand. Like he'll just solve all the problems.
Yes.
So
you
they
think-
kind of just
Yeah,
get rid of him for a bit.
Green Goblin is a formidable threat for Spider-Man, but for Doctor Strange,
none of these guys-
he's not a threat at all.
None of these guys are a match for Doctor Strange. He can handle all.
So
yeah.
first off, he's Charles Xavier by being locked in the mirror dimension.
Yeah.
So that's his first.
Also, don't you think that it's a bit stupid to assume that Doctor Strange can't go through out of the mirror universe without those things on his hand? I feel like he's beyond that.
Yeah.
That you always have to use this. I'm pretty sure there was a point in these movies where he doesn't have those rings and he
was the Sorcerer Supreme, so I don't think he needs those rings. to
Yeah,
do
I think-
magic.
Yeah,
I think those rings, they're like training wheels for like training.
but he can't move his hands.
That's the whole point of the first movie, is that you don't need your hands to get through universes. The guy comes out with no hands and he does it, right? Remember that scene?
Yeah,
You
That's true.
You haven't seen it in a while.
But he can't move his arm at all.
I think that's the point. Is like
I
you
think
don't
you've
need.
gotta
It's
be able
not
to move
about
it.
your. No, you don't. You don't. It's the guy doesn't have it. There's one guy who
No,
doesn't
but
have a hand.
he doesn't have a hand, but he still has his arm.
But I think that's the thing. Is like the whole point of it is that it's to do with your brain it's to do with your spiritual connection or whatever.
But the thing
astral
is,
projection, whatever.
yeah, he had to be Charles Xavier. Otherwise,
I think it was a
yeah.
plot convenience. They had to do it because it's a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
If Doctor Strange was in it the whole time, he'd just solve all the problems. He'd be.
Oh, and the movie would be done in
Yeah.
2 minutes.
They could have.
Yeah.
I reckon they could have written something a bit stronger.
I think that's the best they could have written. He's stuck
I
somewhere.
mean, they could have. There's other stuff going on.
They could have.
Yeah.
They could have like brought in the multiverse to
there's
pluck Doctor Strange and like
There
have
would
him
be
for
too
a
much.
second.
There'll be too much going on in this movie if they like. Oh no, there's a multiverse thing happening now as well. It would just distract from the main.
I think.
Yeah.
I reckon they could have done a way where they alluded to something ominous going on with Doctor Strange, didn't have to focus on it, and then your end credits, because this movie, as we will discuss later, it opens up. It's like the next connection to Doctor Strange's what is it, multiverse of madness, and kind of opens up this whole what is.
They could have done a thing where he's like, Doctor Strange's like, I need to go address this thing. Like, he doesn't keep it pretty vague. It's like, there's bigger
Well, he
problems.
gets sucked up by
and he's
another universe. I mean, it happens,
But the problem is that Doctor Strange has one goal in this movie: to send the bad guys back to their universe.
But
then Tom
isn't that
Holland
box-
stops him. Tom Holland takes the box.
yeah.
As soon as Doctor Strange comes back, he wants to just press the button on the box. You can't
but
be like, oh, I'm gonna go away.
No, but anyone can press that button, right? He set it up so that anyone can press the button because he tells MJ to press the button.
You guys are forgetting that he's gonna press the button and then Tom Holland takes it, and that's why they fight.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what? They're gonna stop fighting, and then he's gonna be like, "Oh, I'm gonna deal with this thing. Can you press the button?" Even though we just fought about you not pressing the button.
What are you saying? I don't understand what you're saying.
No, but you can still press. So Tom Holland.
No. But the thing is, he knows Tom Holland's not gonna press the button.
No, he will press the button once he cures the villains.
But he doesn't want them to cure the villains.
No,
That's
no,
the
but-
whole contention.
But when he
doesn't-
comes back, he realizes that there's much more gravity to the situation that's happening at the moment, right?
that's only after he's cured the villains. He only comes back after
when he's in the
cured the villains.
process of curing them.
He's already cured like 3 of them at
But
that point.
Spider-Man was always going
and
to
I
send
think-
them back. He was always going to send them back. He was just going to cure them.
He was
going to
cure them, but Doctor Strange wanted to send them back straight away.
yeah,
So
that's
wait,
right.
what's your-
He would have sent them back straight away.
Where's your issue with, like, are you arguing that there's a plot hole, or what are you saying?
No, I'm just saying the way you guys are saying that Doctor Strange could have gone away for a different
not on
reason
purpose.
wouldn't have made
no,
sense.
not on purpose. What I'm saying is they could have written a way where Doctor Strange gets plucked by the multiverse. Like he gets like portaled into another universe, and that's why he doesn't exist. But that's not explained.
It would have made sense.
It's not explained until his movie next, where let's say he comes back, he doesn't fully explain what's going on. Then the events as they happen, and then the next movie says, then it's a revelation as to why Doctor Strange is now looking for help in regards to dealing with the multiverse.
It would have made sense, but it also would have distracted from this movie, and you would have been thinking, what's happened to Doctor Strange this whole time? I think, rather than concentrating on this movie. I think
No, I don't think that's what I'm saying. Don't fully show what's going on. I think there's ways.
I think
I get what you're
Spider-Man
saying.
would be like, it would be nice if Doctor Strange is here, but it becomes his problem, and he kind of does that anyway. Like Doctor Strange comes right at the end, and he does a little.
And then
thing
he's
right
Charles
at the end.
Xaviered again because, he's Charles Xaviered again because he has to stop everyone from coming through.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he could have solved some of the other problems.
But I think they could have probably left Doctor Strange out after that mirror. Like something else happens after that mirror universe sequence. He ends up having to do something else. He gets sucked in or whatever. He ends up not coming back. And then
it would have had to be something against his will. He can't. It
that's what I'm saying.
wouldn't have worked if he's like, I'm going to go do this.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that Doctor Strange decides
that's
to go
what he was saying.
decides to go for a picnic.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck
unless
it.
the threat is so massive that this is just doesn't matter.
No, I think it's
I don't think it wouldn't have
my
worked.
argument would be, you know how, so let's talk about, I think there's
a lot of what if.
There's a lot, and there's also a lot of, and we'll talk about Into Spider-Verse later, but you know how in Into the Spider-Verse, all the characters not in Miles Morales' universe get sucked into his universe? I think something like that for Doctor Strange, for him getting sucked into another universe, could have been with the,
understand why you would say that, but I also think that leads to John Watts having to do a lot of collaboration with, what's his name?
Sam Raimi.
And they would have had to kind of do a lot of back to forth with this movie.
Well,
and
that they're doing a whole bunch of reshoots for Doctor Strange.
Exactly.
Now.
Yeah. But sometimes it's not practical that you can kind of it's got to be its own movie in the end, doesn't it?
And I guess the climax of this movie, how everyone forgets Peter Parker, that probably couldn't have happened without Doctor Strange.
No.
So,
yeah. I think I don't think it's the best convenience where he's just locked in the mirror dimension, but they had to do it.
It's fine.
They had to do it.
It's not the worst thing.
Yeah. To contain it to just making this a movie within itself without alluding to too much. It does allude to other stuff, but to contain it, I think they had to.
So I think, I mean, this was fine. I wasn't, it didn't detract from the movie that much for me. What did detract from the movie a little bit was even more of a convenience where Ned can suddenly do magical powers.
Yeah,
and create portals.
A cop out. And also at the
they
end
needed
of
someone to be able to do portals. So
and also how does Doctor Strange get stuck in the mirror dimension? So like there's this portal that's open, Spider-Man exits it, and then it just closes itself for no fucking reason. Did you notice that? It just closes. Yeah. And that's another thing. It's like, why does that close?
Is it because he grabs the ring thing? Or?
No, I mean, that doesn't, like, just moving the ring from one place to another doesn't close portals. Like, so then portals I was like, that's very convenient.
And close at their convenience in this movie.
Yeah. I was like, the fact that this is the reason why he can't exit the mirror dimension is because it conveniently just decides to close is like, oh, come on.
They need to do plot conveniences.
I think the biggest one was Ned, because Doctor Strange has to, like, do all this training. Like, he goes on to, like, Mount Everest and all that stuff to get his powers.
So I watched a TikTok and look, I didn't believe this completely, but this guy says that it makes sense that Ned can do the portal
easier than Doctor Strange?
Huh?
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, so it makes sense that Ned can do the portals faster than Doctor Strange was able to.
I agree.
Because Doctor Strange is a man of science that never believed in magic.
That's what I was going to say.
But Ned always
believed in magic.
Ned grew up in a world where
open to it.
Yeah, he grew up in a world where there was fantastical things, where there's Thor and all this stuff. So he's more open-minded than Doctor Strange ever was.
I still don't think it should be that easy, but anyway.
That's the reason.
I think that I think the main part of Doctor Strange's awakening, and I think even Doctor Strange movie should have could have had a bit more explanation to that is that, yeah, this guy's an arrogant prick that thought that he was at the height of human evolution by being a neurosurgeon. And the fact that he wasn't even close, I think it takes him so long to realize what it actually means and what it kind of, what they identify as spirituality and being the source of supreme and all that stuff means. That's why it takes him a while. Yeah. That's why I keep forgetting what her name was, the Tilda Swinton character, but what are they? What's that?
The ancient one.
The ancient one.
Yeah.
That's why she has to like take drastic measures and chuck him onto Everest or whatever to do it, right? Yeah.
But it's still a plot convenience.
It is a bit.
Yeah.
It's like.
And Doctor Strange is meant to be like, she says it, he's the best of them, right?
Yeah, but that's different. That's different.
That's after he's
going to achieve great things in the future, but I think, which I think makes him more
Once
interesting.
he opens his mind.
Exactly. The fact that it takes him, it's so hard for his mind to become what it needs to become in order to become Doctor Strange is a good thing, I think. Yeah. He needs to change a lot.
Look, these plot conveniences in a worse film, we would hate it, but because the movie is still good, we can look past it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I managed to sort of look past it because the stuff that comes afterwards kind of made up for it, but it still remains like, and they never even talk about this like in the previous movies. He's just in this movie, he's like, oh, I got these tingles and suddenly he can do it. So it was definitely a little bit convenient. We can talk about the portals scene, so the scene that everyone wants us to talk about. So Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire coming in. Look, the first time I watched it, I was like, did they really have to get both of them come through a portal? I just felt like that was, they're both there. They just open a portal and they just happen to both come through a portal. I felt like,
as in, you would have wanted Toby to seek them out.
So I think
something else. Like I feel like both of them coming through a portal was just too. It was a bit cheap.
I think the thing was, we knew they would be in it. Well, we didn't know, but we had a strong inclination they would be in it.
Yeah.
I think when they wrote it, they were probably thinking, okay, so he'll be calling for Peter Parker. Then you see someone in a Spider-Man suit, which could be Peter Parker, and he's going to come through, and it's going to be Andrew Garfield, and everyone's going to go crazy.
Yeah.
And then everyone's probably going to think, okay, they'll do another portal, and then Tom Holland will come through. But he's going to do it again, and then it'll be another guy, and it'll be Tobey Maguire, and then people go crazy. So I think the way they wrote it was like, this is going to get the best fan reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
So this is like a fan servicey moment where it's like,
I think
what's the best way to do this to get the biggest reaction?
There could have been like cool ways of doing it where, you bring in Andrew Garfield and then you tease out that you're going to get a Tobey Maguire. You don't get a Tobey Maguire. And then he rocks up. Then he rocks up in like a fight.
Yeah.
And then people lose their minds. I would have lost my mind if that happened.
It would have been funny if it was like Japanese Spider-Man.
And they just send him back. They're like, you get out of here.
Because he only talks Japanese. It's like the mum talking.
That would have actually been funny. Yeah, I just thought they didn't need to do both of them through a portal. I thought that was a little bit, cheap and
contrived.
Yeah. Like if we were writing a story and we didn't really think about it, we would just be like, let's just get them come through a portal. Like that's like the first thing that would come to your mind without any thought. Like, let's just get them come through a portal.
I think one person through a portal is fine.
Yeah.
In the context of Ned discovering he has this portal ability,
I think the Andrew Garfield
I think that was good.
Yeah.
But once you knew that he was coming, you knew that the next
Tobey
one
Maguire would be
Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
So it kind of...
I think it was a smart thing to have Tobey Maguire in normal clothes in the
he's just some random guy. He's just some random guy.
Some youth pastor clothes.
Youth pastor. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great line.
That line was hilarious. Let's talk about them.
There's actually one thing we missed. Daredevil.
Oh yeah, we missed that. Daredevil was in it for like 2 seconds. Yeah.
Next.
So a lot of people because a lot of people haven't seen that Netflix show.
Yeah.
So they're like, who's this guy?
There's lots of TikToks that are this is actually really funny TikTok.
Who the fuck is this guy?
No, but like it's like people that haven't seen Daredevil and they're sitting in the theater and then that scene happens and everyone around them's cheering and then it's the guy in the middle who's like, yeah. Yeah.
I love this guy.
Yeah.
Well, I watched this with my wife the second time and she's like, who's that?
Yeah.
I'm like, he's a lawyer. Then I had to do a brief explanation because, he says he's a very good lawyer. I like the part where he catches the brick because Spider-Man obviously has spider sense, so he would have probably sensed that coming. But he's like, wait, how did you catch that.
Yeah.
So that was good.
I feel like they're gonna. I mean, they're bailing on this guy, right? Like the Daredevil stuff, Matthew Murdock. They've kind of. Do you think he's ever going to come back into the?
Yeah,
Is he coming back?
Yeah.
Really?
We could talk about future.
Oh
but
shit!
Yeah.
Okay, good.
That's why they
You've
introduced
seen
him.
Hawkeye episode 5, right? You've seen Hawkeye episode 5?
The most recent one, not today.
Not today's one.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We won't talk about it in this because
cool.
we
Yeah.
could spoil it for people.
Oh yeah.
but
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's So I'm very happy at the moment because the amount of New York villains / New York Christmas references, like which are the favorite things of mine when it comes to Marvel, are all happening at once in various like Disney Plus and movies and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it feels.
But I think this was like Daredevil's in this universe, and we're gonna.
It's confirmation that he exists and he's gonna interact.
It might not be the same Daredevil in the Netflix, but
it's the same actor.
It's the same actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was good.
He's in it. Cool.
Oh, it might not be the same. Oh, okay.
It might not be the same. Like, it might not be. He hasn't gone through those exact experiences that Daredevil did in the Netflix series.
Yeah.
Because there's some weird shit that happens in those series, like especially the Defenders and stuff like that. So.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any of that crap. I've just seen first and second season Daredevil. Arguably the only seasons worth watching.
Third season's good as well.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think all the Daredevil ones are good, but the Defenders and the Iron
rest of
Fist
it
and
are-
stuff aren't
Yeah.
that great.
Yeah.
Actually, before we get on to the other Spider-Man, we quickly talk about Aunt May. So Aunt May,
May dies.
the second time I appreciate this a bit more. So all those people that complain about this is not like actual Spider-Man because, Tony Stark gave him all the tech and he's not like quintessential Spider-Man and that he never had the Uncle Ben moment. So what they did with this is they made Aunt May essentially Uncle Ben for this Spider-Man. And what I realized was this whole trilogy is his origin story. So everything he learns throughout this not just 3 movies, all the, like Infinity War, Endgame, Civil War, and the 3 movies
Exactly.
is his origin story. So now he is Spider-Man that you know from the comics.
But he's gone through these pinnacle key moments in his life to
Now he's Spider-Man in college, I think is a good way. Because there is Spider-Man that's in high school in the comics that acts exactly like Tom Holland's Spider-Man acted
Yeah.
throughout these movies.
Yeah.
But throughout these 3 movies, in each movie, he gains something else to get maturity.
Yeah.
And then by the end of this one, he is a fully mature, realized Spider-Man that knows what he needs to do.
Well,
and he learns lessons throughout. Yeah.
The whole theme underpinning Spider-Man, like the whole reason he is Spider-Man is with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, and I think also the fact that I think Green Goblin says that. I don't think if people really hear him say it as much because he's just screaming at Spider-Man or like saying all this stuff. But he talks about your weakness being your morality, while Aunt May says that. I mean, the
strength.
first thing she does
That's your strength. Yeah.
yeah, is that the first thing is when Osborn comes up and she's like, the first one is, what's the right thing to do? Like, is it right for you? Is it right for these guys? It's easy for you to just send these guys into another universe, but this is a person who's troubled and you need to do what you can to fix them.
Yeah.
That's the first thing, and it's related to Norman Osborn. Then again, right at the end, as she gets stabbed or whatever by, I think it's good that they made it in a similar way to what happens. There's a reference to him using his
Green Goblin dies.
Exactly. Using
the
that
first one,
thing that cuts everyone down.
Yeah. His
It gets Aunt May.
hoverboard thing.
Yeah. Despite the fact she knows she's just been that Tom or her nephew has been like essentially taken hostage by Green Goblin, and then he's killed her, and then she's aware that she's about to die. I think that's very obvious. And I think the fact that she says, obviously, great power. What does she say? She says
From
something.
great power comes great responsibility.
But she says it differently.
No, she says the exact one.
No, she doesn't.
She
That's
says
why.
the exact same line.
She doesn't.
I think there's an extra...
With great power always comes.
No.
She says it differently. I swear.
She says the same one.
It's
How much you want to bet? How much you want to bet she changes it?
100% she says the same one. Because later, Tobey Maguire says...
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
the point. What I'm trying to make is that I think what happens is I think what that means.
I think she says with great power. So there's a word in there. There's like an extra word.
She changes
in there.
it. She
There's
changes
an extra
it
word
on purpose. I think it's on purpose because they don't want it to. When you change it a little bit, it gets rid of the cliche, but it also means that I think the reference is kind of a hidden reference is that Uncle Ben isn't as big part in Spider-Man's life, but he must have met him at some point. He died. They referenced that in the first movie, I think. But at some
But
point,
that's not why he becomes Spider-Man.
Exactly.
It's like isolated incidences.
but it's like, I think at some point Uncle Ben would have believed in it. It didn't make a difference to Tom Holland's Spider-Man's life, but it did to Aunt May, right? And she says it. And I think the fact that there's this pervading theme, which is at some point in Spider-Man's life, being the better person or like being moral is the key to why you are Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It goes across the universes, which is like the take-home point, I think, of all these movies.
I've got a nice meme here that I saw on the internet. And I think it's actually quite good. So in Spider-Man Homecoming, he goes from an eager young boy wanting to be an Avenger to Spider-Man Far From Home, where he handles the responsibility of being a hero, to Spider-Man No Way Home, where he realized the true cost and the price to pay for doing the right thing for the greater good.
Yeah, and in Civil War, when he first meets Tony Stark, he actually says something like, if you have power and people get hurt, then it's your fault or something like that. I think he loses that along the way. I think after he gains all these friends and, he's got all these powerful friends and, he does all these adventures, I think he kind of loses that a little bit and it comes back to him in this movie.
Yeah, I think that's a good line. It's from Civil War where he's like, if you have the power to do something and people still get hurt, then it's your fault.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or if you have the power to do something, you do nothing and people get hurt, then it's your fault.
And it kind of comes back to that in this because, he can help these people, but he's choosing not to. He's like, it's not my problem.
Saying it's more, exactly. Yeah. And it's more convenient.
So, anyone who says that line dies.
Also, skipping forward a little bit, when the three Spider-Men meet, and then he's like, before Aunt May died, she said this, and then Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield both finish the line. They said, with great power comes great responsibility. And they're like, how do you know that? It's like Uncle Ben said it. But Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Uncle Ben did not say that. He said some other shit.
No, but so Andrew Garfield, I watched this in I wanted to just watch this scene. He doesn't complete the quote, but he agrees with them.
Okay, so he doesn't complete it.
He doesn't complete the quote, but he says that's what Uncle Ben said, and then Tobey Maguire said
Aunt May.
he died. Yeah.
He says something about Aunt May, doesn't he?
No, he said that's what Uncle Ben said, and then
Okay.
Tobey Maguire said the night he died.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I can pass that because he says something similar to that. He says
it in a very long-winded way.
He says some shit like that, but longer.
Yeah.
So there's that scene with the two Spider-Mans that come through the portals, right? And then they go and meet Peter on top of the roof. Or is it on top of a school? What is this?
School. It's a school roof.
Yeah, school roof. I think the best imagery in this movie is when
You
they
see
look up at the dark building and it's like Andrew Garfield
silhouettes.
the silhouettes. I'm like,
And you see
this
the
is
moon.
fucking cool.
So this is like
Oh, that's so cool. And they just do it for 1 second. I'm like, oh, no.
So you see them. You see the silhouettes. You see the moon in the background. You don't see their faces. It's just like
And you see them go from a crouching position to up and then
Yeah.
they jump down.
Yeah, it's great. It's something that was seen in like Batman vs Superman or something. They did it with Batman. It works with Batman because you
Yeah.
always see him like that.
Yeah.
But it was cool. Yeah.
It's a very cool thing. It also reminds me of Into Spider-Verse with like Spider-Man Noir.
Yeah.
Like his stupid.
Before we get on to the two Spider-Man, there's one thing I wanted to mention, which was they actually addressed the I'm a scientist myself meme.
Yeah, the meme. Yeah. I'm somewhat of a scientist
I'm
myself.
somewhat of a scientist myself. That's what Norman says. So he says it in Spider-Man 1. And in Spider-Man, it's just like a line. Like it's
But
not
it's
even...
it's turned into a, you know the meme, yeah? Everyone uses this meme.
I think I do.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
The meme, for people that don't know it, it's used as a kind of a funny thing that you put after you do something moderately smart. So if you do anything moderately smart, then you say that afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they could resist putting that line in. Like, it's just like,
That's where this movie does a lot of fan service, where it's got those type of memes. And there's another scene where it's very fan servicey. Before this movie came out, and everyone thought the Spider-Man would be in it, they're like, I hope there's a scene where they talk about their web shooters.
Yeah.
And they talk about Tobey Maguire having organic web shooters.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where they discuss it essentially. So everything that everyone wanted and that I saw online, they're like, I hope they do this. It was in the movie. Yeah.
yeah, so it feels... I mean, it's good and bad.
But it's also like, how could they not discuss that? Right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty obvious because that's like
You
so
see
different.
another
too.
Spider-Man and you see him making his
Yeah,
own
it's
webs.
so different. So
Yeah.
they obviously had to address that. But I feel like everything that was meant to be a surprise in this movie was not, because we kind of, in the back of my mind, we
Everyone
sort of
wanted
expected
it, or yeah.
So like we thought they would be in it. We thought, you know, that all the villains would be in it. Like everything that we thought would happen, even Daredevil was in it.
Yeah.
Did you guys expect that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like all the speculation kind of became true. So the only, and it's just the times we live in, but imagine this came out like 20 years ago when there was like hardly any internet stuff. Like your mind would have been blown if this happened. Like it would have been
definitely.
amazing.
You know what I think they should have done in the trailers, but I guess you can't do this if you want people to get excited about this movie, is they should have had Doc Ock, Green Goblin, whatever, but not had the faces of the actors being shown. Therefore, you thought that, Spider-Man is just going to meet the Doc Ock of his universe, and that this movie was just going to be about these new villains that you know but are part of this universe. Then when you watch the movie, you realize it's a multiverse thing.
I think,
and therefore you wouldn't expect Spider-Man, right? You don't expect Spider-Man. The only reason we thought Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire were going to rock up is because we saw the Doc Ock actor, I forgot what his name is, and
Alfred Molina. Yeah.
but I think you got to ride the line of, we want to surprise people in the cinema, but we also want to get people excited and get people in the seats. So as a business, I can see why they do what they do.
Okay, so on the Spider-Man, so we can talk about Andrew Garfield first. So
Yeah.
I thought he was really good in this. So he firstly brings like a comedic touch to his character, and then he's also got like pretty dramatic moments as well that he brings.
like key dramatic moments
Yeah.
Well, everyone liked it so much that
that they want him back.
The Amazing Spider-Man 3 is trending on Twitter at the moment. So I have a few thoughts about that.
It's a big redemption, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
being in this movie for him.
Well, I never thought he was actually that bad. It's
Neither
just
did I,
his movies weren't that good.
I have a few thoughts about the
Electro
Amazing.
made his movie shit.
Yeah, I have a few thoughts about that, but we can talk about it after we. But he's hilarious in this, and he's definitely the one that steals the show in every scene he's in. He's funny, and he's kind of a loser, which he would be. Like in this universe, he's a kind of a loser, and he's definitely the worst Spider-Man out of both of them, because Tom Holland's got all this tech, and he's worked with the Avengers and stuff like that. Andrew Garfield's been doing it for years. This guy's, Tobey Maguire, sorry.
Yeah.
And then this guy's just a bit of a loser.
Yeah. Well, and he talks about like he's got a pretty serious moment where he talks about how he stopped pulling his punches.
Yeah.
And then he talks about how he's rage filled and he's essentially Batman. He's like killing. He's Ben Affleck Batman, which was an interesting turn to take.
So once again, I think there's some big references to Into the Spider-Verse in that, not like the Miles Morales part, but you know how there's two different Spider-Man? There's two different types of, there's Peter Parker and Peter B. Parker. Peter B. Parker is the loser Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Where things haven't gotten right yet. Yeah. But Peter Parker is the guy who's gotten over, his life has gone on and he's doing things. And I think,
that does it better, but this kind of does a little bit of that with,
I feel like Andrew Garfield is at the stage where he's like one of those characters, but he's like this dark turn. He's gotten through this period of where he has no meaning in his life, and he's still trying to figure it out. I feel like he's not there yet.
Yeah,
and then Tobey Maguire's come through, and I feel like they've also tried to make him older.
It's
been multiple years since.
He's
it's
his
been
actual
years,
age,
maybe even a decade. Like actually, what the movie, since how long it's been? It's been 20 years since that movie, right, or whatever. He was saying we eventually got there with MJ, and things eventually worked out. So he's been through the run, and so it's kind of like he's getting the advice of another Spider-Man to get him through that hump. And so I think there's a lot of like cool things that aren't specifically mentioned that you kind of get from this movie.
Yeah, so Toby's more of like the mentor because he's kind of been through everything. He's seen the worst of it, and he's kind of
I think they should have even aged him up a little bit more. I think it would have been really cool.
Is that how he looks now?
Yeah, that's just him now.
Yeah, I reckon they should have given him like a beard or something, and just like a bit more. Just make him a bit older.
Yeah,
make him be like, this guy has been through the works, but he's still Spider-Man.
So interesting. This is his first movie since 2014. So he hasn't been acting.
Is that the Leonardo DiCaprio movie? That's no,
Boss Baby was his last movie. He did the voice.
But in terms of live action, his last live action movie was
Great
2014.
Gatsby.
I think so.
Yeah.
Was that 2014?
Yeah.
It might have even been before that, but I think they said his last acting role was 7 years ago.
Do you guys want a little side story about Tobey Maguire's personal life?
He's not a very nice guy, right?
So I don't know if you guys ever seen Molly's Game. So after he did Spider-Man, he got so much money that he didn't really need to act, and I don't think he ever really wanted to act again. So he did Spider-Man, and then he had all this money, and he's a poker player. He's a pretty good poker player. So he used to but he used to go to underground poker matches with unlimited bets, high stakes, and rumored there's this book called Molly's Game where this chick used to run underground poker games in LA for like Hollywood elite.
There's a movie as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And essentially, Tobey Maguire was a mainstay at these games. And from her book, what she says is that he used to come to the games and he used to be really good and like make people steal all their money. And then one night she asked him, it's like, do you like playing poker? He's like, nah, I hate playing poker. I just like ruining people's lives.
It's like gone from hero to villain.
Yeah. So apparently he's not a great bloke. And then if you watch Molly's Game, essentially he gets jealous of this chick and then steals makes her not have a business as well. And then he calls her and he says, fuck you or whatever. So like he's apparently not a great bloke, but he's good at poker.
How like substantiated are these rumors?
He definitely did the poker because there was a court case and his name was in the thing.
But the issue isn't that he played poker.
And the book, it's all said in the book with his name. Interesting. So it's whether this chick was saying the truth or not, but essentially it's widely said that he's
got a reputation for being a dick as an actor.
In the initial Spider-Man movies before he was famous, I think it was normal. I think after he became famous, he was not a nice guy.
Well, I don't think he's like I think there's like Jared Leto is probably worse, but he's like, I don't think he's the nicest guy to work with. I think he's like an Edward Norton.
Yo, he's an asshole to work with, isn't he?
I think he's like Edward Norton. Yeah.
Okay, so he's an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except I guess Edward Norton, just because he's just an amazing actor, I think he gets a pass. But I think Tobey Maguire's not on the same level as him.
Yeah. And saying that, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is okay in this, but in terms of charisma compared to Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield, is definitely lacking.
Yeah,
and
I think they wrote his character to be more like mellow and like,
yeah. I think it works in this movie, and it works based off his character in the previous movies. But if that was just a random Spider-Man, I think people would have thought he was not great.
Yeah. I think compared to Andrew Garfield, he was fine, but Andrew Garfield.
But I also don't think that even in the original Spider-Man movies, his character wasn't as uppity as as Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man.
It wasn't, yeah.
No.
Yep.
Andrew Garfield had way more banter going on in his movies,
Yeah.
His character's consistent with what he was in the previous movies.
And they have some good scenes between the Peters. So there's one scene in the science lab, I think, where they're creating cures, and there was a bit of humor there. There was a bit of emotion there as well, because firstly, Andrew Garfield, he has a flashback to Gwen and when he sees MJ and Peter talking, and then there's also that moment when Ned asks Toby about if he had a best friend, and then he's like, I did, and then what does he say? He like turned against me and he died in my hands or something.
Tried to kill me.
Yeah.
They both happened to, well, Toby says that,
Yeah.
But I guess Andrew Garfield's best friend tried to do that to him as well.
Does he? He doesn't die though, right? Does he die in that movie?
He does, doesn't he?
I can't remember.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
We even did a commentary on that.
Yeah, I think he dies.
No, does he?
So not memorable that you don't even know.
I can't remember if because he
Pretty sure
obviously
he
Gwen Stacy dies.
Yeah.
What happens after that?
I think he kills him.
Does he? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I liked was that they kind of retrospectively made those movies slightly better, especially Andrew Garfield ones. I'm like,
They do.
I might actually watch those again because this happened, maybe I'll give them another chance.
They do. I think the villains reference their movies a lot, like how they got their powers and kind of like poke fun at.
Yeah, falling in the vat of eels.
Yeah. And like,
does he say something?
You got to watch where you fall.
Got to watch where you
and
fall.
especially the lizard, like the plot of the first Amazing Spider-Man, they make a lot of fun of it, and it is a stupid plot. Like, because Electro's like, why do you want to make everyone lizards, man? And it's like real. Like, why did he want to make everyone lizards?
And then he's
I
like,
can give you a makeover.
So I can give you a real makeover. It's like, let me guess, you make me into a lizard?
Yeah, I thought it was
the best line is when Electro's in Happy's apartment, and then Sandman is like, he's like, oh yeah, I really like this place. He's like, what, in this apartment? And then he's like, yeah, man.
Yeah, it's open
Yeah,
space.
yeah, open plan. No. I was like, this was,
Yeah, I think Jamie Foxx was. That was really good that they got the actors. They're actually all of them are great actors. Like Willem Dafoe,
Yeah.
Alfred Molina, Jamie Foxx. They're all like pretty
I think
good.
William Dafoe steals the show because he's just absolutely insane and crazy. And his face is just, it's Green Goblin. His face
So,
is Green Goblin.
can
Yeah.
morph his face quite a bit.
One bit of trivia. So you know when he is Green Goblin, that's his actual teeth, and when he's Norman Osborn, they put in fake teeth.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So he's got some pretty crazy teeth.
And they actually make him, as he kills Aunt May, he like, he's really thick under the coat and everything. He looks like Green Goblin. He looks like he's a goblin underneath it.
Yeah.
Whereas before, he's like slowly gathering these clothes that eventually give him that hood and
I think it's a good idea they
rid
did
of
away with the mask.
The helmet, yeah. I don't know. I kind of liked it for like nostalgia. It was kind of good to see it, but
Yeah.
yeah. It was
What
good that
they
we
could have
saw
done-
it, but
Yeah.
we also transitioned to something else. Yeah,
He was by far the best villain is him.
Yeah.
He gets the most development as well, I think.
and he's also Spider-Man's arch nemesis. So there was always this feeling that Tom Holland Spider-Man never, till now he never met Green Goblin, and he may not after this either. But at
But it's
least
definitely his arch nemesis now because he killed Aunt May.
he's made a lasting impact on his life essentially. So he's always going to remember Green Goblin.
I find it interesting that we now have a villain from the first Spider-Man movie ever made that has become like the arch nemesis of the third Spider-Man in his third movie.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Right?
And I still think from that original trilogy, he was still probably the best part. Like, Tobey Maguire's good and all, but Willem Dafoe,
Yeah, definitely
amazing,
He was amazing in this and in the previous.
I still feel like his explosion balls or whatever are fucking OP. They're like really OP. The fact that they caught Doctor Strange off guard by putting it in that box thing and blowing up is
I think he's just like this guy that's just like he doesn't give a fuck. He just does whatever and like
he just flies by bombing highways. And
yeah.
shit.
He doesn't care who he kills. He doesn't care if he dies. He'll just do whatever. He's basically the Joker.
and he's also super strong. Like, Spider-Man can fight Bucky, if you remember in Civil War.
Yeah.
So this guy is super strong.
He's formidable.
Yeah, they are like they're literally in that fight in the apartment. His apartment complex is fucked. Right?
Yeah.
They're doing these WWE moves where they're slamming him through levels of floors. I'm like, holy crap!
I feel like Tom Holland in that fight, he's like, I fought some guys, but this guy's fucked. Yeah.
Not only that, I tried to save this bastard right?
Yeah.
the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's good that they brought in Feast. Did they really reference?
It was in the second
It
one.
was in the second one. Yeah.
in the start.
Yeah,
the very
in the
start.
start,
And
yeah.
you kind of like go like you but they really emphasize it this time because the camera spans to Feast when he comes to see Norman Osborn for the first time.
And even the bag that they keep all the cures in. It's in the face bag. Yeah.
on purpose.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
As a reminder that you got to cure these people,
Yeah.
That's what Aunt May's saying. We've done a lot of talking around plot points.
Yeah, we kind of jumped around a bit, but
I think we're pretty much, yeah.
Other thing I wanted to mention. So out of the villains, I would say obviously Green Goblin is the best one. I think Doc Ock was very good. So I think, Sandman, he was there for a reason because obviously he knew that Doc Ock and Green Goblin died in the hands of Spider-Man. So he could communicate that to them. Lizard, I don't know.
He was also like a bit of a nerf to Electro.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the only. Or else, like, I don't think they could have contained Electro, right?
Yeah,
that guy
yeah,
was going mental.
I think they picked the best villain from each movie. That's what they went for. The best villain in each movie, and they would bring them through.
Yeah.
It's 5 movies. Pick the best
Venom
one.
was the best villain in the third movie, though.
No, it wasn't Venom. Shit.
Venom in that movie. Do you think that had a good villain? Like,
Out of the
I don't
three,
think
Sandman
any.
wasn't
three,
hardly
Sam,
even a
that was
villain.
the
He wasn't
three.
even a
Yeah.
villain in that movie.
Yeah, it wasn't even that bad, but
out of the three, Sam, all the 3 villains are not great.
because
in that
they
movie.
wouldn't
Yeah.
have brought back another Green Goblin, so
No.
they're not going to do that.
And he's not a great character.
And they're not going to bring back Venom for this because probably they want to do other stuff with Venom later.
Yeah.
So they had no
They
choice.
had to bring one from each movie. So
I thought the scene when Peter Parker discovers Electro for the first time is a really cool scene.
Yeah, that was cool.
Very ominous. For an Electro scene, I was like, I would expect a more worrying villain than Electro in a scene like that. You know how like Electro just comes out of the darkness in the background and he's
Yeah.
got this black suit on and he's trying to like, you know that scene that I'm talking about?
Yeah. Well,
It
he's
just
blue.
seems
He's
like-
initially blue. Yeah.
Huh?
He's initially like
Yeah,
he
he
looks
just-
like he was in Amazing Spider-Man. 2
Yeah, and he
initially.
just forms. Yeah. I was like, this is a lot for Electro of all people.
I
But in
like
that
that
scene-
Electro is like attracted to this world because he would
better,
be because like Iron Man created all this like awesome electric tech, so the world is probably
Arc reactors.
arc reactors like
And he's
yeah.
also not like a loser in this world. Like
Yeah.
he looks different and stuff as well. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. In that scene, the Electro scene, I don't know if you noticed, but you can see Sandman in the background. You can see sand like flying around in the background. So what Peter actually sees first is Sandman. He actually doesn't see Electro. Electro is behind him.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it is Sandman that's going
He actually
around in
sees
the forest.
Sandman. Yeah. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I thought Sandman, I mean, he doesn't do that much. The reason he turns, because initially he's kind of good, like he's kind of on Peter's side, and then he turns bad, and then,
He's just he wants Peter to activate it ASAP.
yeah.
He doesn't want to rate, which I think is actually a pretty interesting. It's not bad because it means that there's different
Motivations.
opposing motivations
Yeah.
for a lot of these villains.
But then he kind of befriends Electro and kind of like starts believing what Electro's saying as well. So I don't know.
No, but then Electro at the end is like, "Nah, I don't want to. I don't want to go to the other universe." And Sandman at the end is like, "We need to press this thing. Like, give me the cube or whatever."
Lizard. We'll just quickly talk about Lizard. I thought he has a couple of good, like he's got some good comedic lines. So firstly, no one knows that he talks, and he starts talking. He's like, "Wait, this guy, the dinosaur can talk." He says one thing which I found like it was funny, but it didn't really make much sense. It's like, she can't be his girlfriend. She's definitely not his girlfriend. I'm like,
Yeah, that was a weird line. I didn't know what to make of that. No way, that's his girlfriend.
Yeah.
No way.
It's got like a pedophile.
Oh, yeah, it's very weird.
It's like a 50-year-old man rating this a 17-year-old chick.
and I'm pretty sure that actor was probably not in the movie.
Okay, so there's two scenes that they're directly taken from two other movies. So the scene where Sandman becomes normal Sandman and the scene where
Lizard becomes
Lizard.
Yeah.
They're directly taken from
The other movies.
the respective movies. So those actors were never in this movie. They just did the voiceover.
voices. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Why not? Why wouldn't you just get him?
I think probably time, schedules.
All right, so we're at the end of the movie. There's a big fight. There's a team-up fight between all the Spider-Men. There was a couple of good scenes in there where he cracks his back and then they have an exchange about him being in the Avengers and they don't know who the Avengers are, which is pretty funny.
And also the fact that Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man keeps like down talking himself.
Yeah, there was.
And so they're trying to pep him up because everyone shits on his movies and they kind of. So that was a good self-referential thing.
Yeah, there was a part where they talk about the villains that they fought, and it's like, I fought a mad Russian guy in a metal suit.
Who's rocking up through the multiverse by the end, right?
Rhino, yeah. So, that was pretty funny.
When was he in that movie?
Right at the end.
And at the start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not in the suit at the start, but.
Yeah, so I thought the fight was okay.
I thought it was pretty good.
It was all right.
It was like,
Like, it wasn't amazing. I wasn't blown away by it, but it was okay.
Yeah.
And obviously, our Peter, so Tom Holland, Peter Parker, is still rage-filled in terms of he wants to kill Green Goblin, and then Tobey Maguire interferes.
Talks him down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, he doesn't even talk him. He just
looks
at him. Yeah. But I thought
he stops him from stabbing him
yeah,
as well.
and then he gives him a glare. I thought the part where Green Goblin stabs Tobey Maguire was maybe a little bit unnecessary.
Well, so initially, this is the rumor. Initially, apparently they wanted to kill Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and he would have died in that scene. He would have got stabbed and that would have been the end of his story. But apparently Kevin Feige wants to bring back the character at some point for a future Marvel project. So they didn't kill him, essentially.
So maybe they're going to have like a...
I think it's smart not to kill him. Leave it open. If you can do some cool stuff in the future, keep that. Tobey Maguire's a good asset to have.
No one except Aunt May dies in this movie.
Yeah.
So
They
Aunt
think
May was becoming useless anyway, so it's fine.
they think they're going to bring him back for Secret Wars, essentially.
Secret Wars, actually.
Don't
Yeah.
say it. I don't want to know it.
All the other people that know Spider-Man from all the other universes start coming out. So Doctor Strange comes back because it comes through a portal or something, right? Like he comes through Ned opens up a portal.
Ned tries to open up a portal and then
Doctor Strange comes
Doctor
through.
Strange comes through.
Which means Ned can open to the mirror dimension now.
Yeah.
This guy's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I think he was just trying to go wherever, and he's just like, oh,
And
yeah.
he couldn't close the portal either. So
No, yeah.
everyone returns back to their universes. So Peter makes a sacrifice saying that everyone. So this is. I'm not sure why he asked for this, because the initial spell was people don't know that he's Spider-Man, but people who know him as Peter will still continue to know him as Peter Parker. It's not like they completely forget who he is. But what he asked for at the end is literally just everyone forgets who he is. Like no one knows who he is.
Because everyone that knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man are coming through. So if you take away the Peter Parker part of it, then they won't come through. So everyone forgets who Peter Parker is.
Yeah.
So no one can come
It's
through
nothing to do with
anymore.
Spider-Man anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People still know what happened with Spider-Man. Everything has happened with Spider-Man. And so therefore, the villains don't have a thing anymore. There's no connection to villains.
No one can know who Peter Parker is anymore. So, and also, it's the best way to wipe the slate clean so that he can't ask Pepper or Happy for anything. He can't go to the Avengers for favors and stuff. He's by himself now, essentially.
Well, they don't know that he's.
They don't know he's
Spider-Man.
Peter Parker.
Well, they don't know he's Peter Parker, and they don't know he's.
They know
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man exists in the
Yeah,
universe.
that's right.
but
They know
yeah.
that there is a Spider-Man.
So every time they had, a scene or they knew Spider-Man, it's
Got
just
his
Spider-Man.
mask on.
Yep,
Yep.
mask on. Yeah.
which is yeah.
I think it'll be interesting. I'm sure that if there is ever an interaction with someone magical, like, I think if when you start approaching magical or magicians like Doctor Strange and maybe one day if Spider-Man and them ever interact, I reckon there's a way where they will be able to undo that spell.
Yeah.
Or like,
But I think now
it's good.
Now the fact that he can't approach them anymore, he's by himself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes it interesting.
Also, I feel like that by finally saying that to Doctor Strange, I think Doctor Strange, there's like this understanding that this kid isn't a fuckboy anymore. Like,
I think Doctor
He
Strange,
respects him.
yeah, he's like, this kid wants everything. That's it. And Doctor Strange says it at one point. He's like, you can't have everything. You need to make sacrifices.
Yeah.
So, but now he's finally willing to make the sacrifice.
I also don't agree with Doctor Strange is saying the issue with you is you're leading two lives. I don't necessarily agree with the fact that that's a fault. I think that's probably the best way, right? Like, doesn't this movie prove the fact that it's the best way to lead your life is to separate Peter Parker from Spider-Man? Therefore, you can protect the ones who are worth protecting and are innocent from these dangerous
I
activities.
think the thing he's saying is that once you're outed, you can't leave two lives anymore.
Can't ask for both.
Yeah, you can't be both.
Yeah.
You got to Iron Man it. You just got to own it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is weird. In this universe, everyone knows
who everyone
everyone's
else is.
identity. So
Yeah.
it's weird that it was such a big deal.
I guess he couldn't handle.
He couldn't handle
He
it.
couldn't handle it.
But I guess sudden revelations, it's fair enough. It's a sudden revelation that he's Peter Parker and the fact that he's been accused of murder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe that's.
It's like this whole big thing at the time where they're trying to get into university. It's like it's a big part in their lives that's gone to shit. So
But everyone else knows who everyone. Everyone knows that Dr. Stephen Strange is a wizard, essentially.
yeah, but he's also like this guy doesn't have much public interaction.
I don't think. I don't think Steve.
Do they know
I don't
where
think
he-
Doctor Strange is like publicly known. Like the Avengers know, but it's not like they're not going to make a musical play about him.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Do they know where
They
he?
make one about Spider-Man. What's going on?
No, but like Rogers the musical, like
Which
Captain
is-
America.
There's
yeah.
a little billboard of Rogers the musical in this movie. So I think we're basically at the end. So it's going to be.
So who are the characters you found that were trying to break through? So at the end, when Doctor Strange is trying to
I think it's only 3 that
So there's-
globally people have realized.
Scorpion, Rhino,
Scorpion, Rhino, and
Kraven.
Kraven the Hunter.
Yeah.
That was it.
Kraven
yeah.
the Hunter. Is that the guy with the spear?
Yeah.
I couldn't really recognize anyone. I thought it was a cool scene seeing those guys come, like trying to get through or like there at least.
Also, the only thing I'll say about people wanting Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man 3, Sony makes shit movies, so I don't want them to make Amazing Spider-Man 3 because it'll probably be shit. If it's a Marvel, if it's with MCU, then yes. But if it's a Sony one, it's just going to be Venom Let There Be Carnage or some shit
You know what they
like
should
that.
do?
Yeah.
They should do Miles Morales in Tom Holland's universe, opening up universes that brings in Andrew Garfield as a Spider-Man, as an older Spider-Man that essentially does what Peter B. Parker did for Into the Spider-Verse. But I don't want another Into the Spider-Verse movie because
I only
it's
want...
amazing.
I don't think they'll do another like Spider-Verse type thing. But Miles Morales is. I think he is in this universe.
Yeah.
He exists.
Also, yeah. Also, Into the Spider-Verse, we can talk about that. The next trailer came out, right?
What
Next,
about?
for the next movie.
I mean,
Have you already spoken about it?
no, we haven't, but it looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool, done. All right.
But yeah, I don't want to watch any Sony Spider-Man movies unless they're MCU or they're animated. That's, yeah. Otherwise, like, they've all been shit. There's no reason to believe that they can make a good movie without Kevin Feige's intervention.
So Morbius, which is another movie coming out.
It'll be trash.
So what?
So I don't know anything about that character. He looks interesting, but it's also a massive. I guess it's a massive fuck you to DC for bailing on him as Joker. Is it right?
No, I think. Well, I think it's just another movie that he's doing, but it's.
The trailer was shit.
Well, we'll see what happens because these movies. I don't think Morbius is that popular of a character. He's not a Venom.
Well, I don't know who the hell he is. So
So he's not a Venom. So I think it won't do as well as Venom, even though Venom wasn't even that good. But people watched it. So
The reality of it is Sony hasn't made a good Spider-Man universe movie
since Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2. Yeah, which was 2004. So in basically 20 years, they haven't made a good movie without the intervention of Kevin Feige. So if people think that suddenly they've found their wits and if they make The Amazing Spider-Man 3, it will be good, they're probably kidding themselves.
All right, we'll talk about the last. We've already talked about the Venom post-credit scene. We'll quickly talk about Doctor Strange. So there was a lot of stuff in this trailer. So it was a trailer. It wasn't a post-credit scene. So the last time they did something like this was Captain America: The First Avenger, where they had a trailer for the Avengers at the end of that movie. So a couple of things I noticed in the trailer. So one was you see Captain Carter. I don't think did you notice that?
No, I've only seen it once. So
Captain Carter, you see the back of her back with the star. So you see Captain. I'm pretty sure that was Captain Carter.
a lot of what if references.
Obviously, you see evil Doctor Strange right at the end, which is very
direct
interesting.
from What If.
What if?
Yeah. Other stuff, like there's a lot happening. Obviously, Wanda is going to play a pretty prominent role in the
Significant
movie.
Proper
role.
Scarlet Witch.
And he asks her about the multiverse because she's been doing some multiverse stuff with her kids and that, right? So maybe she knows more about it than him. And other people that are in that movie, so Chiwetel Ejiofor is back as Baron, what's his name? Baron Mordo. Yeah, he's back. And Wong's obviously going to be in it. And Loki is confirmed to be in it.
Nice.
A lot happening in that movie.
Another character that's in the trailer, America Chavez. You see her in the trailer.
Who is?
She's a new character, but in the movie, she's in the comics, but it makes
Is
sense
that the
she's in
name
this
of a
movie.
character?
America Chavez is her name.
Is that her name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not the actor's name.
The character's name is America Chavez.
Yeah.
She can open up portals into other universes, is her superpower.
Isn't there an X-Men that does that?
No.
There's an X-Men that opens up portals.
Yes.
Maybe not into other universes.
Yeah.
But
It's Kitty Pryde.
What about Magic? Magic does some portal stuff.
She could just open up the portal into that universe with the dragon.
Okay.
Have you seen New Mutants?
Don't.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not great. Who's
Yeah.
Magic? Is it? Oh yeah, it's what's her name? Ivan? No,
Anya
Anya
Taylor-Joy.
Taylor-Joy.
that's one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other person I think you see is Shuma Gorath, who everyone's going to say is the big villain
octopus?
in this movie. Yeah.
The octopus? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the eye and the octopus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
the question is, where's Mephisto?
I don't think Mephisto is the big villain. I think Shuma Gorath is the big villain / evil Doctor Strange.
I think it's probably evil Doctor Strange because no, it'd be good to see Benedict Cumberbatch. Obviously, he's great as Doctor Strange, but he's also like really good at playing villains. So it'd be good to see that.
The Hobbit.
I think you're thinking more that other movie.
Star Trek.
But anyway, they're doing reshoots, extensive reshoots at the moment. 6
now.
weeks. The rumor is they're adding a lot of cameos, so people are ready for some crazy shit. I've heard like rumors of variations of many characters.
So potentially Fox characters. So X-Men. We could see Hugh Jackman potentially.
People are saying Chris Evans is playing 2 different characters, so possibly
Cap and
Human Torch.
Human Torch. Yeah.
Yeah, Iron Man variants apparently.
Okay.
Yeah.
RDJ's probably not coming back. They can't afford that.
My hope is that they do what's that guy in Iron Man 2?
Oh, the villain.
Whiplash.
Nah, not Whiplash, the other dude. The
Sam Rockwell.
Yeah, Sam Rockwell's character.
Yeah.
I hope they
he's
do
gonna be Iron Man?
I hope they do a universe where he's Iron Man and it's just shit.
It's just really bad.
Yeah, it's just really bad.
He doesn't do anything for the world. He's just working with the Taliban the whole time.
So, is there anything else?
Nah,
Look great. And you can tell, like, just the way that movie is filmed. It's so different to the way this, like, it felt like a completely different. It is a different movie, but it felt shot very differently.
I feel like as soon as you bring in Doctor Strange stuff, the way they shoot things is like
So different. Yeah.
scale is different. As soon as they even have that fight scene in Spider-Man where they enter the mirror dimension, everything's off. It's like Inception. It's like all that
Yeah.
stuff you're just flipping well. It's very cool.
He's such a cool character. Like his movie. I'm not a big fan of the first Doctor Strange.
not a great movie, unfortunately.
I've always rated it more than you guys.
And it's good, but it's not like.
It's quite generic, unfortunately.
I think the best of him was probably Infinity War, and it was good in this movie as well. But I think the next one's going to be great, and I probably might be in his hometown, New York, when that movie comes out. So
You might be.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Go to corner of Bleecker and
that's
what
where
is
it lives, right?
Yeah. That's where my Airbnb was before the movie came out. I never realized, and then like went back there. It's very cool.
Yeah.
It's just Greenwich Village, right? So every time it always has a mood. Greenwich Village always has this particular mood. It's a very calm, very chill place.
It's a bit more. I mean, all of New York, all of Manhattan's like affluent, but that's like a nicer part of town.
Yeah,
right?
and you have like New York University. It's there, the Washington State Park or whatever it's called. But it's also where Spider-Man's that's where they set his, what do they call it? Empire State University, ESU, which is where Spider-Man tends to go to university in
Yeah.
a lot of the comics, and in the game he does. That's in like Greenwich Village, just their replacement for NYU. So it's like there's a lot of references to just things around Greenwich Village.
So that's
he'll probably go to college in a New York.
yeah. He won't be going to
Yeah,
MIT.
he won't be going to MIT in Boston.
Doctor Strange 2, directed by Sam Raimi. So he's coming back after many, many years to direct a Marvel movie. And then the John Watts, who directed this movie, is directing Fantastic Four, the eventual Fantastic Four movie that comes out.
I didn't know they were doing another one.
Yeah, they announced it, and they announced him as a director. So he's not going
Who's
to
in
be...
it? The people,
No,
like
they haven't
Miles
announced
Teller and shit.
No. They haven't announced the cast yet. So we'll find out who the cast is.
Man,
But everyone
they're really
is...
trying, huh? It's like the third time.
Well, this is going to be MCU. This is going to be Kevin Feige led, so we'll see how that goes. But everyone's gunning for, obviously, John Krasinski for years to be Mr. Fantastic.
I am a huge fan of John Krasinski. So,
And
have you guys seen Jack Ryan, the Amazon one?
No.
I've seen some scenes in Telugu.
The fuck? Why? Why would you do that to yourself?
You got to watch him to know.
He's freaking ripped.
Oh, is he? Yeah.
He's bloody ripped. I was like, holy shit.
So if there's nothing else on this movie, it's been a long episode, so we'll probably wrap it up. So if people want to get in touch with us about Spider-Man No Way Home, how do they go about it?
So contact us on all platforms at Cognitive Recalibration, or send us an email at cognitiverecalibrationpodcast@gmail.com.
Cool. And if you want to support the podcast, as we said earlier in the episode, if you listen to us on Spotify, you can give us a rating. If you listen to us on iTunes, give us a rating on that as well, because it makes us more discoverable on their search engines.
Yeah.
All right. So next episode we're doing a Christmas episode, and we've got a whole bunch of other stuff we've got to talk about. So
Home Alone 4.
Home Alone 4. Okay.
That one that's playing on your TV right now.
I don't think that's 4. That's
Like 6 or something?
yeah.
What? Okay.
There is a 4. Like
I saw Home Alone 3. That was shit.
yeah.
There's a 3. There's a
There's a 4, and I think there's a 5
then I
as
think
well.
there's a 5. Yeah.
The 4 and 5 were straight to TV.
Straight to DVD when people stopped having DVD players.
So yeah, we've got that, and then we've got Matrix and all the other stuff that's coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. I think we might need to skip Ghostbusters. We either skip Ghostbusters or we skip The Kingsman.
We're doing
So if
Hawkeye?
anyone-
Doing Hawkeye?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we got Hawkeye. So
Yeah.
Hawkeye
Next.
will actually be. So next is Christmas, on Christmas Day, and then it will be Hawkeye. So we'll be.
Oh, so you're not doing Hawkeye as a Christmas thing?
I mean, we
Part
could.
As part of the Christmas episode.
We could. Well, we'll have to
whatever.
devote the whole episode for it, but yeah, we could.
I'll come back.
So we're gonna leave now and watch the Hawkeye finale. So that's what we have planned next. So thanks everyone for listening. Hope you're all staying safe, and stay tuned for more episodes.
Cool. Get boosted up,
Oh yeah,
bitches.
and thanks to Kireeti for joining. I forgot to.
Fuck you. I'm never coming back. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right.
Reach out to us on cog.reco.com.
Okay. See you guys. Bye.